lighting is very poor. Lighting is poor.
MPF. Amen. Nekubadana. Amen. Ne-war veterans. Amen. Basina Mugabe. Basina He. Adikarei pasi mafungu. Pame. People prayer. Give us a prayer.
Baba n'umwana kumana ngwe mchini. Mali baba tangana ababyeyi okusinguko. Kubekirangana. Shaturangana shatangwe litangwa zehondo ishe. Bakati chengeta tirana aduku kushikirira. Titore yoyika mwana. Sakana nasi she Yesu Kristo tulukumbiswa. Nekuda kokuti takatora yeyinyika kumuwengi. Ishe mwari ndimi munoziva ishe tenzi zvatanganira pano. Ndimi munoziva ishe tenzi zvatanganira isusu ruzhinji vakasara kumamhiri kwemakungwa ishe. Nesu takadzoka ishe mwari womusoro kudenga. Chivai nesu ishe tenzi mukati meimba ino. Pachataurwa neukuru hwese ishe tenzi pakati pedu pano ishe. Tugove tigoteerera ishe tenzi. Mashoko iwayo asvike ishe tenzi kwakuru venyika ino ishe Jesu Kristu. Tinokunamatai mangwanana ishe Jesu Kristu. Tinokudonga ishe Jesu Kristu nokuti makatiraramisa ishe tenzi. Muine chinangwa ishe tenzi chokuti tigotaura legasi yenyika ino ishe Jesu Kristu. Kwaive kusiri kungwara kwedu ishe mwari womusoro kudenga. Asi makanga makativhumbanira ishe Jesu Kristu. Andikunyamudzei mangwanano mari. Ndanamata nemuzinda nemuropa raishe Jesu Kristu. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Comrade Pame. Harare Province, you are welcome to this press conference. With us here, there are provincial chairman, Chimbo Simugai Machairman, my provincial chairman, Simugai Munizimana. One I just look at. Icho! Amelokubatana. Amen. Pasina Robert Gabriel kwa Mugabe. Pasina He. Pasina Grace. Pasina He. Aladima Gomez. Information. Secretary information.
Pamberi nechimurenga nekuzitonga neruzhinji rwevanhu pasina Robert Mugabe pasina Grace
right ini tinozivana nditi. I'm the vice chairman of the Zimbabwe War Veterans Association. My name is Hetman Moyo. Asikana tasangana kuno. The Secretary General, who happens to be my boss. The Secretary General is a member of the Politburo in our association. He is our Secretary General, but the Politburo, in terms of party protocol, he is the most senior Tinaipana. His name is very common. Is Victor Matemata.
Amandla. Amandla. Ilizwe. Pasina Robert. Pasina Grace. Pasina Mariekshnar. Pasina Watengesi. Pasina Utengesi wa Robert. Icho. Zimbabwe oye! Oye! Zimbabwe oye! Oye! Pasina America. Pasina yo!
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I think I should take this opportunity to thank the war veterans that are here, and the war veterans that are here are not only from Harare, they've gathered from throughout the whole country. And I think I want to inform the fraternity, the journalists, that when you see such things happening, you must understand that there is something amiss within the political arena of the Zimbabwe and the unfolding political developments in this country. The war veterans, it's unfortunate that people do not find the correct and the correct definition of who they are. They are the political barometer, they are the political thermometer that detects, that is responsible, that is managed to bring about a political opinion that grew up until 1980 when Zimbabwe got its political independence. War veterans are initially trained as soldiers, but the most important component of war veterans is the political aspect. The political aspect is the instrument that we use. It is the instrument upon which war veterans have always derived their way forward, their direction. This is how we have directed the revolution. And when you see us calling for press conferences like this, I want you to understand, and I think that the majority of you must have been surprised when you heard a slogan, Yukuti Pasina Robert Mugabe. What we are is a force, a revolutionary force. We are people who have been directed by the principles of the revolution. Principles of the revolution is what has been agreed by the people who participated in the liberation struggle as to what must be adhered to as a matter of agency, as a matter of demand, how one needed to conduct yourself and understand how we should go forward. There are three things that bind the revolution, and it is upon these three things that they become a measuring instrument as to whether one still remains directed or apanduka. It is the existence of a structure, which I've always called a sacred revolutionary structure. Earlier on, it started with the one who is being said Pasinae today. And secondly, we've got the principles of the revolution, which is the principles. The principles are the ways that similar wars have been fought by countries that assisted us during the liberation struggle. And the interpretation of the principles is what we call ideology. It is upon these three that every one of us is measured by. And these people that you see here agree with one another among ourselves because of these three principles. It is these three principles that we have derived the principle of the revolution, that nobody is above the law. And the people alone are the makers of their own history. So we are responsible of directing the principles of the revolution of this country. And when we say the revolution of this country, we are not talking about where you find ZANU-PF leading, but where we also find even the opposition taking part in politics in Zimbabwe. It is part of what we think. It is out of these principles that today in Zimbabwe you find an opposition. There was no opposition during the Ian Smith regime, but we have allowed that to happen. So we have, as war veterans, observed the unfolding political developments in this country since the 18th of November, when we congregated at Mshandrapamwe, and when we finally removed Mugabe after a bitter 2 years struggle against his endeavor to create a dynasty. We therefore are here today to do the same thing. You remember, I want to remind the world that you remember before the Politburo meeting, the Central Committee meeting, that ended up causing Mugabe to be expelled from the party. The war veterans had called for a press conference and expelled Mugabe and his people. But when we do things at the end of the day, because the party is supreme, we leave it up to the party to finally and fine-tune such positions. And today, we have seen, we have observed, we are concerned about the unfolding political developments. And it is our responsibility as the revolutionaries, as a people's army, as people's force, to once more call upon the Zimbabwean society to understand what we are going to say today. And unless we do so, in fact, we have no option, because that's the direction that will naturally be there. Finally, it is what the people will do, because you cannot stand in the way of a broken dam. You will be swept by the strong water coming from the dam. So really, it is these three, therefore, that I want you to understand. And when finally, when our Secretary General here then gives you the speech, you understand that it is based on these three, and that our society must pick a political opinion out of what we are saying. Because no matter, you may not be a member of the party, ZANU-PF, that does not matter, because your political opinion will always dictate to you what to say. What we are saying here is, ZANU-PF will exist, MDC must exist, but it must exist without Chamisa, without BT, without Robert Mugabe. Because yesterday, Mugabe blamed the MDC for running down the economy of the nation, and when he is out of power today, he has now chosen Chamisa as a political marriage, as a political ally. This is how we, against the principles that I've told you, then we are saying, Pasina Mugabe, down with Mugabe. He has fallen by the wayside of the revolution. Comrade Matimandanda, can I ask you, therefore, to the chairman, can I ask the chairman, therefore, to proceed from where I've left?
Itife! Itife! Pasne Mandu! Can you give us one song before we give? Comrade Matematanda, you are our secretary in the Veterans of Liberation Struggle in the Post. Can you address us?
Thank you, Comrade Chairman. Icho! Idipe! Idipe! Mugabe tsa! Thank you, comrades and friends, and obviously, thank you, journalists, for coming. We are happy that most of you came to monitor and cover the process of our elections. And my thinking is that you were factual in your reporting. We are not here to school you on how to do your business, but we just hope and trust that you do it objectively. What Comrade Mahia was saying is that when we went to war, we had different definitions of who our enemies were. But once we got into the revolution, we were capacitated in a way that after being orientated, we knew what our enemy was, and we could, and even up to now, we can positively identify what we call an enemy of the revolution. When we talk of an enemy of the revolution, we don't try to find those from an opposition party. Remember, it is ZANU and ZAPU, ZIPRA and ZANLA, after having almost won the war in the liberation struggle, agreed at the 11th hour to go for an election that was to be supervised by the former colonial power, Britain, and of course, its allies. We did that knowing that we had fought to bring democracy to Zimbabwe. And we still stand by the fact that we brought democracy to the people of Zimbabwe. And if we brought democracy, we have opened the political space for everyone, for all opposition political parties, all opposition political opinions, to do what they think is best for them. This is why you saw over 100 political parties and a lot of independents contesting in the just past harmonized election. It is democracy at its fullest that we have fought for. You have heard me saying, personally, America. America is not our enemy. But the big brother mentality of America is what we don't want. Our president has been very clear, trying to re-engage the world, trying to engage. He has done all, including opening every democratic space. He has done that. But we think that America, by extending the Zidera sanctions, they are slapping us in the face. America must know that they killed us. They supported those people that killed us when we demanded a one-man, one vote, which is the basis of a democracy. But America chose to kill or support those that were killing us. And today, they want to dictate what goes on in Zimbabwe. Even judging us from post-election violence. An aggression that was done by the opposition, which they know. Where in America would the authorities let people destroy property and lives without reacting? Take, for example, in South Africa, you remember the Marikana. People were killed, but no sanctions were put. What double standard? We respect America, but we do not want the big brother mentality, the tendency to maintain international hegemony. We don't want that. I'm going to read about it, but I'm just saying, if America is going to behave like this, we are going to call upon our government to say, let us forget any effort to try to engage America. We want to engage people who respect us, people who take us as human beings. We are no longer slaves of the Americans. We know most of our people went to work in sugar plantations. And for anyone, with Trump included, to think that we are still patient slaves of America. No. No, we did not get this independence on a silver plate. We got it through the barrel of the gun. And we have not lost our guns. We have our armories. We can defend our revolution anytime. If they don't want to respect the African human race, we will ask them to do it. because they killed us when we demanded the basic democratic right, universal adult suffrage. They did not want to give us that until we had to die for it. America sponsoring bandits who were killing us. And today they want to maintain the big brother mentality. This, as war veterans, we are not going to accept. It is common cause, common knowledge that this dispensation that we have today is based on engagement and re-engagement. Comrade Mahia has been talking about the 18 November movement that was attended by all people of Zimbabwe, despite political affiliation or inclination. We all participated as Zimbabweans. That is re-engagement, which we did. So when we talk of re-engagement, we don't talk of overseas re-engagement. We talk of internal and external, yes. But all should be done in a respectful manner. ZANU-PF property was destroyed by MDC Alliance thugs at the instigation of their president, who hijacked the power from the back door. And I don't know why America does not tell Chamisa to learn how to democratically take power. They should have punished Chamisa for grabbing power from Thokozani Kupe. But they support the young Lumpen. Chamisa was clear from the onset that if he was not going to win, he was not going to accept the result of the election. He was very clear that the only fair result was his win. And America and every other so-called progressive nations did not ask the meaning of what he was saying. But it was very clear that if they were not going to win, they had merchants of violence. And the international world did not bother to ask them what they meant. But they choose to punish us for defending our sovereignty. Our president was very clear. We were all very clear that we were not tolerating violence. Our president was asked whether he was going to surrender power in the event that he lost. He was going to lose elections. He declared that he was going to hand over power. The armed forces did that, but Chamisa refused. And the international community is silent about that. What double standard is that? In our view now, America and other countries, what becomes a fair result in an election is the winning of an opposition party. Look at the contestations that are being done and supported by America the world over. They choose to support losing political parties. Why? Because of their hegemony, international hegemony. They want to protect their superiority the world over. In Zimbabwe, the opposition parties, MDC are included, the opposition parties are not our enemies. We want opposition political parties and opposing political opinions. But what we will not accept is a person who goes to America and asks for the suffering of our people, extension of sanctions. Sanctions are a crime against humanity because you punish even the unborn. There is no president who suffers under sanctions. It is the ordinary people who suffer. And why do they want to squeeze blood out of us? Just because we are black. And we should dance to the tune of America, no matter what nonsense they give us. No. We don't want to be taken back to situations where we thought the white person was our enemy. We don't want that. We did not fight against a race. We fought against a system. And if this system is going to be perpetuated by America, then America becomes our enemy. Remember what they did in Afghanistan. Remember what they did in Iraq, lying that they were weapons of mass destruction. And when they did not see even a hand grenade, no one punished them. Why? Because they are big brothers. Nonsense. That's rubbish. We cannot have a skewed world where America has got goalposts uphill and Africa has got goalposts in the valley, and then someone say, play football. How do you play? When one kick goes straight into the gate and you take years to climb the mountain. We don't want that democracy, and we don't see ourselves as an inferior race or with an inferior political ideology. What we have here is African democracy. It's not European, it's not American democracy. We define our own democracy. We don't take Abraham Lincoln's democracy definition. That is not ours. Ours is different from Abraham Lincoln because we are not his kins. He took himself for our master, enslaving us, and pretend to be a good friend. Nonsense. Let me read. I just was explaining why I said Pasina America. We are not inferior in everything. We are not inferior to any race, to any bloc, to any opinion. We are not inferior. This is why we conquered them in the battlefield. I'll now read our statement. We, the veterans of the Zimbabwe War of Liberation, have been concerned by the behavior of America in the post-election period. The big brother tendency of America cannot be tolerated any longer. Zimbabwe in the new dispensation has deliberately taken a stance to promote international re-engagement with all nations. However, America, because of its hegemonic tendencies, has slapped us in the face through the extension of sanctions under ZIDERA. Whilst pretending to be a leader in democracy and dialogue, America in reality wants to squeeze blood out of poor nations of the world. They look blindly at the mass murders in Palestine and the war, the whole of Middle East. They do not care about life. They only care about their international hegemony. An international campaign must be opened to expose America's duplicity until the world is aware of the massacres they have committed in Iraq, whilst lying that Iraq harbored weapons of mass destruction. America should also be exposed for what it has done in Syria, Libya, Afghanistan, Iran, and several other parts of the world. We as war veterans also want to condemn in in no uncertain terms, the traitors, Chamisa, Tavani Mompofu, and Tendai Biti, who have gone to the West to invite the extension of economic sanctions on Zimbabwe. Whilst we welcome the democratic idea of opposition political parties, we condemn in the strongest terms the political approach of the three who have chosen to perpetuate untold suffering to the people of Zimbabwe by calling on America to extend ZIDERA and continue the sanctions that have been at the root of the economic stagnation in Zimbabwe for many years now. If America believes in democracy, they would have taught Chamisa what democracy is. Chamisa grabbed power from Thokozani Kupe in complete defiance of the MDC constitution, but America did not even raise a finger. It is ironic that America is trying to promote democracy by supporting a person who does not himself believe and abide by the tenets of a democratic behavior. Surprisingly, America has not condemned him, but seemed to be cheering him on, even as he and Biti have sought to sow anarchy in Zimbabwe. America has only looked with glee. How do you have a president of a democratic political party during a march pressing up? Whoever saw a person doing press up before going for lunch? People do not do press up exercises when they want to eat. They do that when they want to fight. The fact that Chamisa was pressing up in front of his supporters was actually a command that they must prepare for an eventuality that he was going to create himself. Because even today, he is very clear. He is inciting, if you look in today's papers, he is inciting people to refuse the outcome of the court decision, claiming to say that God and the people are going to refuse. Which God lives in the darkness? Which God? The MDC God? Or the God that we all know? But the international community is quiet. And no one would want to write about that, even from you journalists. No one wants to write about it. But you are seeing it. A person is trying to determine the verdict of a constitutional court, but no one talks about it. Why? Whilst we do not want to interfere with the internal affairs and management of the MDC, we believe that it is up to the real MDC people to stand up and reclaim their party from Chamisa and Biti. But Chamisa, who is now abusing it and working with failed politicians like Robert and Grace Mugabe. It defies all logic that on the 18th of November, the November 18 revolution, Chamisa was with us, condemning Mugabe. The MDC has been crying all along that Mugabe caused the disappearance of Dzamara. And we felt pity for them and removed Mugabe for them, thinking that they would support us because we fought their war. We removed a monster that had, totally, destroyed the existence of MDC. But today, the same MDC is going to bed with Mugabe. What double standards? Do they have an ideology? What do the real MDC people say? What does Dzamara's family say today about Chamisa? How do they let him go mad like that? Less than 9 months ago, Chamisa was referring to Mugabe as a monster. And today he says he's a good old, I don't know whether he calls him a brother or because he's not even supposed to be alive, because most of his age, people of his age are all dead. I don't know whether they call him his ancestor or what. But they are in political union. It defies every logic. I don't understand how the MDC operates, and it's a pity if people in the MDC are going to allow Chamisa a minute in leadership. Okay. They deal with failed politicians like Madam Gabe, Job Sikala, Tendai Biti, Welshman Mue, and many others who either dumped or were dumped by MDC when Tsvangirai was still alive. Tsvangirai must be turning in his grave to see a product, of course, of his one center of power tearing MDC into thread. Because obviously, if it is the democratic the movement of democratic change that is going to be mastered in tactics by Mugabe, it's unfortunate. And we know very well that even these court decisions are Mugabe's advice to Chamisa. And we know what they are aiming at. They know that Chamisa lost. They know that MDC lost. If it was MDC that had 145 House of Assembly seats and winning by 4.8, if ZANU-PF was in the position of MDC, the international community would have sailed. In fact, they would have celebrated. But they want to reverse what is clearly a win for ZANU-PF. But they know this is not going to happen. We don't want to talk about it much because it's still in the courts. But what we know is that they want to win the public opinion